Hello, welcome to another RETS Pro video. This video is going to cover Toronto Real Estate Board RETS settings and how to set up the cron job. So first of all, what you do is you go ahead and put in your credentials, get all that in here, and when you get down here, offset support, yes, require login. And now this actually is optional. If you're doing a virtual office website, then yes, but if you're not, then you can set it to no. It'll be default no. Batch limit is 100. That's for sure. You need that way. When mapping out the RETS, you need to go ahead and select standard name here, long name here. It'll make it much faster. And then you're just going to hit save. Make sure you got successful and hit next step. Okay, so the first time you get on this page here, you're going to go ahead and have this default to full data. But once you've got all of your RETS fields completed in this tab 3, and you're completely done with everything, then you're going to switch this over to incremental. Now, I've already got everything done in tab 3, so I'm going to go ahead and put this on incremental for this process. I've got this set to do not download. I'm not downloading images. I am hot linking images from the media server. So if you want to know more about that, there is a YouTube video for that as well. Again, you're just going to go ahead and hit save and next step. Okay, as you can see, all this stuff is spinning, and there is a message down at the bottom here. And you see I cannot slide down to the bottom right now, but there is a message down here. When you get all this stuff all mapped out the way you want it to be, it should already be mapped out for you since we do the setup initially for you anyway. But again, you're going to hit save, and just like in the RETS video, it talks about making sure that this is a single sentence and no other warning messages, and then you're going to go ahead and hit next step. Now, I'm going to go ahead and explain these really quickly. The very first one right here is what you're going to use. Is you're going to copy this and set up a cron job. And you're going to go ahead and hit run now. I've already done all this. This is what I ended up getting. So I haven't run this manually in a couple of days, and so you can see all the changes. There's basically about 15, almost 16,000 changes since the last 2 days, and these are all price changes, and some of these maybe 1,000 or 1,500 maybe new listings, but the bulk of this is price change or maybe new photos or whatever. Timestamp has changed, and that's why they were flagged to be updated. So the next thing you do is you're going to come back over here and you're going to run this one, and you're going to set your cron job for this one, and you just come over here and hit run now for this. And this is what you're going to get on your output. Now, I've already been running this, and what ends up happening, I'm going to talk about the residential one here. There are 3 property classes. You have a condo property class, a residential property class, and down here at the very bottom, a commercial property class. Well, when you set this up in tab 1 for the 100 batch limit, that's because Toronto requires this to be done in a maximum of 100 listings per batch. If you try to do more than that, you will not be able to do that because the Toronto RETS server will kick it out. So that's why we've got this set up the way we do. And so each property class, there's 3 property classes, will run 1,000 listings total per cron batch. So every time you set this cron up, this cron right here, you can run it like I'm going to show you in just a second. I run it every 15 minutes. I run this one twice a day, and I run this one, the second one, every 15 minutes 4 times after this first one runs. And I'm going to show you that in the cPanel in just a second. And the reason for that is because Toronto only allows 25 connections per day. And so you cannot run Toronto because of their 100 batch limit. You cannot run it every 15 minutes or even every hour because you will exceed your maximum connections. So for example, if I run this cron right here twice a day, every 12 hours, and then I run this 4 times after that, that's a total of 5 cron jobs right there. and then I got to run a cleanup, and that's going to be an extra cron job, so that's 6 cron jobs. And so yes, you could probably run it every 6 hours instead of every 12 hours. It's totally up to you, but I run it just twice a day, and so I'm going to show you that in just a second. So anyway, so as you can see, this is running. It batches all these listings in. I'm going to go here and jump over to the database. When you're looking at the database, you're going to notice this is the listings database, and then you're going to notice this little table here called MLS Data Download Queue. So this is how many listings. If I refresh this, it's probably going to be less than that. Okay, so it's not less than that because I haven't run this since I last refreshed this page. So each time I run over here, if I run it right now, just hit I can hit refresh. Every time I run that, basically I already know I'm only going to get 1,000 because condos is already finished and commercial is already finished. So that means the remaining 5,000 here, I'm going to have to click that refresh manually 5 more times to finish this up, because I haven't, like I said, I haven't run this in 2 days at all, and that's why you set the cron jobs up the way we do. So as you can see, I'm going to go ahead and reload now, and instead of 54, that last number, it should be different this time. Yeah, as you can see, it's continuing to drop. Okay, so back to the cron jobs. We have 3 cron jobs here that we have to run. We have to run the first one, the second one, and a cleanup. And so let's just jump over to the cPanel, and when you log into your crons, you're going to see right here, I've already set these up. So you're going to literally copy and paste PHP to the very end, just like you see I've got highlighted, and that's going to be your cron script. Now what I've got is I'm running it on the 6th hour and the 18th hour. If you go look at your defaults here, every time you run a common, you'll see that most people, they don't bother to do the offset. So twice per day it would be 0 and 12. Well, I don't want to run it at the 0 default setting, so I change everything myself. So here's what I've got. I run it on the at 6 a.m. and 6 p.m. at 22 minutes after the hour. That's the first one. The second one, which is this one that's running right here, it needs to run at the same hour. So let this one finish. It takes it starts at 22 minutes after the hour. It will take less than 5 minutes to run, but I've started it at 30 minutes after the hour. So this is going to be 6 a.m. at 30 minutes after the hour, at 45 minutes after the hour, now at 7 a.m., and then 7:15 a.m. Okay, so that's the way that's going to fire off. This is firing off at that, and then I'm giving 15-minute increments. So this is going to be a total of 5, and then this is running twice. So you have 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 times a day right here is total connections to the RETS server. And that's going to be 8 applied towards your 25 per day limit. Okay, so keep that in mind. And so just so you know, what happens is when you get over here, if you exceed your 25 connections in a 24-hour period, the RETS server from Toronto there will be a big red error here that says you have maxed out, you have exceeded your 25 maximum connections per 24 hours. Please try back in 24 hours or something like that. So you'll see that big red error comes up on these if you try to connect too many times in a day. And that should take care of everything that you need here. I'm going to go ahead and see if I'm almost done now with this. I'm going to run this one more time. Okay, so I went ahead and ran it a few more times, and as you can see, it just should have finished here. And let's just go see what we ended up with on the download queue now. Reload. Okay, so the download queue shows 0. Now, it is possible when you finish running this manually a few times, you'll end up with 1 or 2. And the reason that you would end up with 1 or 2 that just would not go in is because they have been sold since the last time, when you started running this to begin with, and they have been removed. And so when it's trying to add them in there, they're no longer being found. If you have 1 or 2 in here, don't worry about it because the cleanup script will actually take care of that for you. So if I go run this now and let it run, it'll take about maybe 2 or 3 minutes. And when it finishes, it'll go ahead and spit out the results here. And as you can see, with all the new listings that were added and the changes and everything, you should get something that looks like this right here when that completes. And it'll tell you how many listings, etc., were deleted. And so anyway, so that's the way it works. And your crons, you can manually check everything yourself. Everything should look like this when completed. And as long as you can manually run everything and everything doesn't generate any kind of errors or anything like that, your automated cron settings should take care of this on autopilot until something needs to be updated per the request of the RETS provider making a change or something to their RETS fields. Okay, so I hope that answers everyone's questions about how to set up the cron jobs, the RETS settings for Toronto. Any other questions, join us in the forums. Please subscribe and like below. Thanks so much.